So many of you have been asking me about this device which I keep in the bag. Actually, no one has asked me about this. I just made that up. I thought that it looks kind of cool, and if I keep it in the background then I would get questions about it. But I guess everyone just focuses on these cables for some reason. But this is actually something very cool that can make your life a lot easier. When I was first getting it, I wasn't sure why something as simple as this needed to cost 6,000 rupees or $70 in US. But after using it, I think that this is totally worth it. So I constantly have to switch between my speakers and my headphone amp, and if you have a simple DAC amp setup like mine, then switching the audio device requires unplugging and replugging of devices. And you may also want to switch between different input sources for the same audio device, or you may just want to add a volume control because your speakers don't have it in front. So this can solve all of those problems. So this is from Mackie and it's called a Big Knob because it has a big knob on it. And it is basically a monitor controller. So it is designed for use with studio monitors, but you can of course use any kind of speaker, headphone, or headphone amplifier with this. So starting from its back, you will find lots of inputs because it accepts left and right channels separately. And you have 6.5 mm balanced input jacks for 2 inputs and 2 outputs that you can cycle between. But you also have an additional 3.5 mm stereo input on it. So you can just use any 3.5 mm stereo cable to simplify this setup. On the front, you obviously have the big knob. On its left side, you have a button to toggle between the 2 inputs, and on the right, you have the button to toggle between the outputs. Under the big knob, you have these 3 buttons. One will convert the audio into a mono signal, then you have a mute button, and then there is a dim button which will make the volume very low instantly. Coming to the build quality, this is one of the best things that I have ever used. It is completely made of metal and it feels really heavy in hand. I really don't know why something like this has to be built so well, but it just feels really great to operate, so this is something that I really like. I am also not sure why this needs these heat vents on it, as it doesn't generate any heat, but it definitely adds to its aesthetics. Now this knob controls the volume, and it really has a very light resistance to it, so you can move it very easily. But at first I didn't like it a lot because I thought that it was too light to turn. But after using it more, I think that it is nice that it is so easy to turn, because if you quickly want to make big changes in your volume, then you can do it very effortlessly and accurately. The buttons are also really nice and have a very nice and tactile feeling to them. The mute and dim button are of course very useful, but I didn't think that I will be using the mono button a lot, but it has proven to be extremely useful and I use it a lot. So if you have separate volume controls on your speakers, then it is kind of difficult to set it to be perfectly balanced, and sometimes speakers also have inconsistencies in the volume they have even when the knobs on them are at the same position. So with this mono switch, you can easily check the balance between your speakers. After turning your signal to mono, you can see if your audio is in the center, and if it is not, then you can adjust the volume on individual speakers accordingly. This will also help you in knowing if you are sitting in the correct position when listening to your speakers, so this is really helpful. Now this is Big Knob Passive, which means that it doesn't include any active electronics inside it, so this is not going to affect the quality of your audio signal. And that is really great if you are an audiophile and you don't want the signal of your high-end DAC to get processed again, which could affect its sound quality. Mackie also offers active versions of this same thing, so you can add gain to your signal, but that is more of an audio interface than just a controller, so you don't need it if you just want to control volume and switch between devices. Because this is completely passive, you can also reverse the order of input and outputs. So if you want to use the 3.5 mm input jack as an output, you can also do that by putting the inputs in the output jacks, which makes it more versatile. One thing to keep in mind is that the 6.5 mm audio jacks get disabled if you plug in the 3.5 mm jack, so it doesn't mix the two signals if you plug in all the 3 jacks for the second input. So this has become very useful for me. I can switch between my headphone amp and my speakers instantly, and I have also attached a 3.5 mm jack cable to one of its inputs. So if I want to plug in something like a phone or another DAC for A/B testing, I can just do it very easily without needing to unplug anything. I also keep switching between different keyboards and a lot of them don't have the volume wheel, so this is really useful. And if you are using it for studio application and you are using something that uses ASIO or Wasapi drivers, then that signal will skip the Windows mixer, so you won't be able to control the volume with your Windows volume control. So this will also be very helpful in that case. It also looks really nice on the desk and makes you look like a pro, so that is something that I also like. Now one issue that I face with this is that I get some interference noise when I am using headphone or earphones. But that is because I am not using a balanced connection with this, because my DAC and amp don't have that. So if you can use a balanced input and output, then that will be better. So it costs around $70 US, but you can generally find it for lesser than that. And I think that that is a really great price for this. The construction alone must cost a lot, as it is made of high quality metal and it doesn't offer many features, but that is actually a good thing for a device like this. You could also go for cheaper controllers, but I couldn't find anything that was worth using in a high-end audio setup, and there are switches from JDS Labs and Shit Audio available, but I think that this is better than those, unless you don't like how much space this takes on a desk. So I'll have links to buy this in the video description. Make sure that you give this video a thumbs up if you found it to be informative. Subscribe to the channel with bell icon. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.